Hear ye. County Commission Court come to order. Right. Meeting is 5 a.m. You all rise. 20. Remember who in our family or you go.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. All right, first on the agenda says comments. Commissioner Gore, you have 3 minutes to make your citizen comment.
Thank you, Judge. Just want to relay some information. We have a new company here, but in Lee County, Shoreline Contractors, Oak Island, Texas. They bought out the Peninsula Marine pipe yard, and they're also leasing up almost 100 more acres down there. And they will be doing hiring within the next 2 years. They want to have 250 employees down there. They are looking for employees now, so I wanted to get that out there for them. They're looking for sandblasters and helpers. They're looking for deckhands. They're looking for boat captains right now. So if you know anybody that's looking for work, you can contact Shoreline Contractors. I have their address and their phone number here. I can get it to Sue. She can put it in the paper and we can get that pushed out. So we maybe get some local employees hired on down there at Oak Island. They're wanting to do barge refurbishing. There's companies over in Channelview that are backed up years worth of work, and this company here is going to start picking it up. Also, it's going to make it even better once we dredge out the channel, once we get the funding to get that channel dredged out. This company here will be able to bring in bigger barges and stuff like that and work on dry dock as well as out top end, bottom end barges and stuff like that. And so I just wanted to relay that. Anybody needs information, I have it here. So you can reach out to them in Oak Island and see what type of employment, what pay rate is. Thank you.
Lauren.
Okay, I'm going to give Mrs. Hawthorne is not here today. She had a new grandbaby yesterday. But she wanted me to give you some results from early voting yesterday. Voted yesterday is 3,159, which is approximately 8% of registered voters in the county. So I went yesterday here in Anahuac and it was smooth. There was a little line, but it didn't take long. So this week I believe is 8 to 5 or 8 to 6. I'm sorry. The 21st through the 25th is 8 to 6. And then the 26th is 7 to 7. The 27th is 11 to 5. And then the following week will be 7 to 7.
And you can vote anywhere in the county.
You can vote at any of the early voting locations. And they're posted on the website and our Facebook page.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, Jerry Gaynor. Jerry, you want to wait for public hearing?
Yes.
Okay. And AC, gonna wait for the public hearing on the.
Please.
All right, moving right along. 1.2, discuss and consider designation of representatives, Houston Galveston Area Council 2025 General Assembly and Board of Directors. Lauren.
Okay, so your packet last. Can you hear me? Okay. So our General Assembly representative for Board of Directors is Commissioner Hammond. The alternate is Commissioner Tice. And then the alternates for General Assembly are Judge Sylvia and then Commissioner Gore. So we just need to designate for 2025.
Leave it plain. Motion by Commissioner Gore, second by Commissioner Ty. Questions? Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Going down to 4.3, discuss and consider Freeze Nichols task authorization number 6 for professional engineering services for FEMA Community Rating System support services for Chambers County in the amount of $83,000. Morning, Brian.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. Before we get into the actual item, I wanted to just give a brief background on how we came to try to enter into the community rating system, also known as CRS. I became ACE certified floodplain manager in 2015. Did floodplain management before that. In 2018, I became the floodplain administrator for the county, as well as City of Anahuac, Cove, Old River, and Beach City. And I do want to make sure that we recognize Rex Tunzi, who kind of set us up for success. He had a really good floodplain program, and we're building on what he did. Also, Corey Taylor, he helped us go to higher standards. So those folks need to be recognized to where we are now. So what the CRS is, it's a voluntary program. It incentivizes communities through a discount in their flood insurance. Yeah, it's tiered from 10 to 1, 10 being you're not even in the program. 1 is the very best you can get. Each level you gain is a 5% discount off your premium. So, and that's for anybody. Doesn't matter if you're in a floodplain or not. Now, and then also, so Debbie Vassick, she's not here. She's with Cahoon Consulting. And she informed me that even county buildings are eligible for this discount. And so that's just money back into our funding, our budget. Now, it's not a matter of, hey, we just want to enter into the program. It's hard. Out of 254 counties, 4 counties in Texas participate. That's it. It's difficult. Typically, whenever FEMA comes knocking on your door, well, they don't knock, they bust it down and go through your sock drawer and everything else. Whenever you're audited, what we're doing, we're saying, hey, FEMA, come inside the house, go through our stuff, look through everything. And so it is a months-long process, and but I think at the end of the day, this is something that we need to implement. Insurance rates are never going to drop. With Helene and all the other hurricanes, with the NFIP, it's just the rates are going to go up. And if we can at least slow down the rise to our flood insurance policyholders, that's going to be a win. Now, I'm not going to get into the funding. I'm going to let Sam talk about that here in a minute. I guess we can maybe skip around. The good news is the funding for this is that we got that from the federal level. So this is not coming out of, we're not raising any taxes or anything like that. We all pay for it. The word free is an illusion. Everybody paid it at the federal level, but it's not an increase. So it's as free, I guess, as free as it can be for the funding to help help us get into this program. So it's again, this can only help us. And I guess Matt, I'm not articulating this enough. So this is Matt Lewis. He's with Freeze Nichols. He's been part of our team with our FIS study, and they're helping us partner with the CRS program. Yeah.
Morning, Matt.
Good morning, everyone. I can speak a little bit more about the CRS program. Like Brad mentioned, it's a voluntary program that communities can join. What it does is it rewards communities who enforce higher than the minimum standards as part of the NFIP program, which Chambers County already does. So really what the CRS program is trying to give you credit for enforcing those higher standards. And the way that FEMA has decided to give credit for that is to offer those flood insurance rate discounts. Ironically, the way they do that is the NFIP program still has to be revenue neutral. And so what they actually do is everyone who's not part of the CRS program pays higher rates to subsidize those who are getting the discounts. So if you're already doing 95% of the work to get the credit, this is just that one little extra step of getting the paperwork in order, helping Brad get all the reporting in order so that the application can go into FEMA. They'll come do their visit. And then about half the contract cost is just to allow for future years of setting up to help him as FEMA comes in. The goal is to set up the documentation to be as simple as possible. It's relatively straightforward, especially because the county's already doing all the work. It's just making sure everything goes into the right folders, and so that when FEMA comes, you just open it up, say, hey, we're still doing that, and you're done. Also here to answer any questions. We have a sub-consultant, Calhoun Consulting, who's she has specialized in the CRS program for years and years. She used to work for the state of Texas in helping communities join the program, so I think it'll be a positive relationship.
I'm gonna poke my head out and just explain why we're doing a task authorization so that you're aware. So Friesen Nichols is contracted with the county to perform the work on the countywide drainage study, which is in the final stages. They're wrapping up the report. It'll be good to go. Actually, the deadline's next month. So, yeah. So Friesen Nichols, what we're proposing that we do and what we're asking you guys to do today is approve this work as a task authorization to that existing contract, because they're going to be utilizing the data that they've gathered through the countywide drainage study. It's a natural extension of that project. And so we can do this. And, we've already got them hired. It's just adding to that contract, basically. And then just to clarify, though, and I know we're going to talk about funding mechanisms here shortly, we're actually going to use, if you guys are okay with it, ARPA funds to pay this additional $83,000. We're not going to use Water Development Board funds. So same contract, different pools of money, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to clarify why it's a task authorization. I did also want to point out that Brad and I are so diligent and dedicated to our jobs that we both put this on the agenda. So when you get to my section, we're actually going to skip an item. So just a heads up on that.
I got a question. So you get slotted 10 through 1. Is that after the process is over, once you qualify and they give you approval, does the FEMA slot you?
So the way it works is there's a list of activities that FEMA recognizes as these add value to community flood resilience. You get a certain number of points for each activity you implement. So, for example, one activity that the county already does is zero net rise. Instead of allowing 1 foot of rise, when you build in the floodplain, you allow zero net rise.
Zero, yeah.
And so you get 200 points for that, for example. And you get points that you build to each level. So on the county side, the lowest you can get to is a level 7. That's due to state building codes. Honestly, but very few cities or anyone really goes past that. I think I just saw recently the highest or the lowest ranked city, I guess, is the city of Dallas. They just got to a level 4 recently. So it's always a process, and I think one of the things a lot of people are lobbying the state for is to improve those building codes so that everyone can keep moving down the ratings. Because you have plenty of points to get to 7. So it'd be,
that was my question.
Yeah.
So that's 15% reduction rate.
that would be our expectation.
right, 5%
yes.
per point.
Correct.
And we're already qualified, the county's already involved in this, the county itself, our insurance.
No.
Okay.
Well, so the county, so we're part of the NFIP. I mean, everybody, if you have flood insurance, you're part of the NFIP.
Yeah.
But we haven't gotten into the community rating system yet. That's what we're doing here.
Just clarify.
Yeah.
Good, thank you, Brent.
So, with me also being the floodplain administrator for Anahuac, Cove, Old River, Beach City, they will get a better rating just by the parameters of the program. The county we can get to, I think, a 7. We can have the best floodplain program in the country. We can't get below a 7, just the parameters of it. And we've already gone to higher standards. We're doing the work. Just that we want to tell FEMA, hey, look what we're doing, and show us reward us with with discounts to our residents. So, and again, the cities, and if we can, I'm sure we can do an audit, hopefully, a package where Anahuac, all these other cities that I mentioned, that they will get a lower rating.
That was my next question. Well, my next question was, is because the cities adopt the county's policies,
They already
so
do.
it's a pass-through, will they automatically get this rating? Like, if you don't, I'm assuming, as it's set up now, unincorporated is gonna get this discount, but incorporated won't. Or will no matter what, if you're the county. And then the cities can give you an additional point system maybe. Is that what I hear you saying?
It should be. It took effect right now. No one would be affected until they applied for a new policy or once it comes up time for renewal.
Yeah.
Again, this is just a win-win.
That's when it kicks in.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Perfect.
How long does it take to get this designation?
Some of it depends on FEMA. They have we fill out an application, they come do a visit, and they want to see Debbie's already talked to FEMA about finding county's visit with all cities visits, so we can all that out at once. It's probably to go on the paperwork and have them come visit.
And that's a kind of a reflection on why you've only got 4 counties out of 254 in Texas. It's not something you just, hey,
Not a
let's
layout.
You gotta really go above and beyond. And again, we've already gone to higher standards. We're already doing the work. It's just we want to be recognized for that. So we're in the. If you want to round up, if we get into this, we're going to be in the top 2% of counties in the state of Texas, which that's something we should be proud of. And it'll pay off. Perfect. I don't know if you want to. You good? Okay. All right.
All right, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Hammond,
Second.
second by Commissioner Dagley. Any other questions, comments? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you all. Sam, go ahead and step up. Let's do the funding part.
Here.
While we're on it, 5.4, discuss and consider budgeting 83,000 ARPA funds to pay for engineering services to assist the county with community rating participation.
So this is just the financial aspect of that. We have the money available. I sent you guys an update on where we stood for ARPA budgeting last week. So just a formality of you guys saying, yes, we want to do it. Yes, we agree to pay for it with ARPA funds. And like Brad mentioned, ARPA is about as free as we've ever had a grant. I always say grants aren't free money, they're cheap money, but as far as ARPA goes, it's about the freest we've ever gotten. So
Motion by Commissioner Toss, second by Commissioner Gore. Questions? Those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Thank you all.
thank you.
All right, 4.4, discuss, consider purchasing 5 tracks off of Gordon Spear Chambers Parkway between the limits of Highway 146 and CWA Canal. Amount of $600,733.95 for Gordon Spear Chambers Parkway expansion.
Good morning. Yes, so this is for purchasing a couple of tracks that are along the Gordon Spears Chambers Parkway area. It is needed for right of way, and it's just to go ahead and formalize our offers and move forward with these acquisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gore, second by Commissioner Hammond. Questions? Been working on this a long time.
Yeah.
Appreciate all the
I think this is the last group.
Yeah, we just
One
got
of the
one
last
left.
Yep, just one last track. Good deal. Thank you now.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, by the way, Commissioner Hammond's having a grandbaby as we speak. So. How's it going?
Don't know yet.
All right, remember her. All right, those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. 4.5, discuss, consider procuring professional services to perform traffic interstate access justification report for Chambers County I-10 ramp reversal project within the limits of SH 99 and FM 565. Good morning, Zach.
Morning, Judge Commissioners. So this project has funding allocations through HGAC. TxDOT has taken the lead on this. Now, we don't believe that this fully captures the county's needs, which is why we're going out for this proposal to do this justification report. With this, it'll go to the FHWA and TxDOT. It's a lot of federal funding. This is just the first step that we got to go through to help benefit our county.
Motion here.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Dagley, second by Commissioner Tice. Questions? Those in favor?
So, hold on. Oh, so we've been working with DEC and, just to clarify that, so I talked to George yesterday.
Yes, EC is vetted in, and that's.
And they're vetted in, so, we can go ahead and move forward with them doing that traffic study.
Yes.
So, okay. Wanted that to be clear to everybody.
So, motion is to move forward with DEC or just to move
Yes.
forward?
Move forward with DEC.
Want to amend your motion?
I'll
Yes.
amend my motion.
Any second, Martin?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I got amended motion, amended second by Commissioner Dagley and Commissioner Tice. To procure DEC's professional services.
Correct.
Right, any other questions, comments? Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 4.6, discuss and consider reallocating 400,000 CO 23 Bear Road to utilize towards I-10 ramp reversal project between the limits of 99 and 565.
Yes, so this is just the reallocations of the CO funding from Bayer Road to now this new project that it's another roadway, so we believe that it should be fine just to move the funds. That doesn't mean Bayer Road's going away. There's still funding there. It's just to help get this project started and going. The 400K is also a not to exceed number.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Tice, second by Commissioner Hammond. Questions? Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 4.7, discuss and consider authorizing Terracon Consultants Inc. to perform geotechnical engineering services for Bear Road in the amount of $42,800.
Yes, so this is to authorize Terracon to do the geotech work. This is the first step in trying to figure out a solution for Bayer Road.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Dagley, second by Commissioner Gore.
I will just tell everybody, we have lots of issues on this road.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
it may roll off into the creek one day. I mean, and that's me speaking figuratively and literally. There's a lot of issues in a certain section. It's very soupy, swampy underneath this road. We've had stabilization issues for about a year. Terracon's gonna go in and do a bunch of bore samples and give us a plan of action to correct this. We're partnering with Convestro and Lanxess, who operate the facility that this road mainly utilizes this road. I think 400 trucks a day go up and down this road is what we heard.
400 plus or minus.
Plus or minus. A lot of truck traffic on this section of concrete road. And the concern is if we close it down, the ingress egress gets a little more cumbersome and circuitous for the plant. This was originally, the bottom above it referenced the CO. This was originally a CO that the court approved to do some repairs of this road in exchange for a large project that Convestro was doing that was going to rebate the county in that tax abatement. Potentially the county was going to get back the funds, so it was going to be a wash. Well, that project never happened. So we still have money in the CO that we did. This is just us going in and not just figuring out what the problem is. And so I know Convestro's team, the county's team, along with the engineering team and Lanxess team all met. And we think after we get this report, we'll have a path forward to figure out how we're going to fund it and move forward. So
Yes.
I appreciate the engineering team on this.
All right, any other questions? Comments? Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
What's me?
Might get up.
Time to wake up. 4.8, discuss and consider engaging Harris County Flood Control District for the installation and maintenance of 4 rainfall and stream gates at the following locations along Cotton Bayou. Downstream side of 565 Bridge along McAdams Bayou, downstream of the culvert on FM 3180, within Bear Ranch Pond, upstream of Point Barrow Gully, along Cedar Gully, downstream of the bridge at 2354. Now,
Yes, so this is requesting for permission to go ahead and engage Harris County Flood Control to start looking into acquiring these rain gauges at the locations identified. These locations were identified based on the FIF study that has been ongoing for some time, so hopefully y'all are excited to see some of it coming to fruition now. This being one example, and the other item that Brad kind of just presented a second ago. I got curious and started exploring the USGS website and trying to get more familiarized with the rainfall data in our area, and I was kind of surprised to see that USGS website doesn't include Chambers County. So I started approaching them to figure out what the process would be to be a part of their system, and in doing that, I also started reaching out to Harris County Flood Control and weighing out options. And after meeting with both entities, my recommendation to the court would be to go ahead and engage Harris County Flood Control for now at these 4 locations. They would be responsible for the installation and the maintenance of these rain gauges, and it would be maintained twice a year. Right now, I don't have solid numbers to present. I'm still in the works with discussing the details on the interlocal, which will be brought back to the court for vote.
Natalie, it's my understanding that if we join this program, these gauges, I mean, if anybody's watching the news during a storm, Harris County Flood Control, usually the local news stations, at least on the west side, heavily focus on, rising waters and bayous and creeks, and they have gauges all across Harris County. If we're in this system, I'm assuming that our citizens in our county will also get some sort of feel of rising water because we're now part of the system, correct?
Yeah, and if they go to the website, they can actually sign up to get text notifications of how these gauges are performing in the area.
Okay, good. That's what I want to make sure of that. Good.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hammond, second by Commissioner Dagley.
So I do want to make a comment. I know we're talking about the west side right now. I haven't forgotten about the east side. We're still evaluating options there. I've been working with Friesen Nichols. Matt, do you want to touch on those?
Yeah, sure. Now I mentioned the west side is already partially gauged by Harris County because there's gauges along Cedar Bayou. City of Mount Bellevue has 3 gauges that are part of the Harris County system as well. One on Hackberry, one on Cotton, just north of I-10. There's one on Smith Gully, the tributary to Cedar Bayou. There's already 3 gauges there in the area. So adding 4 that kind of covers the rest of the west side. They're both stage gauges and rainfall gauges. You can sign up for text alerts on both as the stage hits certain levels, and as you get certain rainfall intensities, you can also be alerted that there's a certain rainfall intensity occurring. We tried to get a pretty good coverage across the county, the west side at least. Obviously, on the east side, we're getting further and further from the Harris County system, so it's harder to necessarily integrate into their system. Obviously, on the west side, the advantage is they've already set up a whole warning system. We don't need to do any more work. We just, when they're local, they maintain them. We just provide the maintenance costs to do so. There's already a whole website and system built. On the east side, that doesn't exist quite as much. Options become more getting into agreements with USGS to put in stuff to their monitoring network, or getting into what's happening on the One Rain network on the east side, which is part of Jefferson County, Orange County, drainage districts in Jefferson County. They have their own network as well. We're just kind of right in the middle, split by the Trinity, the 2 sides. And what makes sense on the west side and the east side is probably different in this case, but we wanted to go ahead and advance this one since it's simpler to get set up. On the east side, we're proposing more of a little more long-term strategy to get gauges set up across areas like the Spindletop Bayou and Turtle Whites. And
we have some set up on the east side now.
there's a handful there as well. Yeah, these are to get additional locations and a warning system built out. On the east side is the future goal.
Perfect. Good.
All right, got a motion and a second. Vote in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 4.9. Discuss, consider approving updates to the engineering department applications for utility construction, Chambers County right of way. Natalie.
Yes, so we currently have a utility application. This is just an update to it. We just added a few additional items for a check and balance, and have the attachment of the spec for the lids that are going to be utilized moving forward. One thing that I'm kind of excited about the application itself is I'd like to see the county at one point have a GIS map established. So since we're already getting all these applications in, we've added a line item there to where once the utility is installed or during the process, they go ahead and send us the line work so we can integrate that into our GIS map. I just want to say thank you to Brad. I know on the sideline you've been working on trying to update our GIS map that we currently have to capture everything that has been permitted up to date, not just in the utility aspect, but the subdivisions in general and things like that. So hopefully soon we'll see that coming to fruition and be up to date by adding this new item.
Questions?
I'm ready. So moved.
Second.
I'm ready to see lids staying put, not floating down our bows.
Yeah, I'm ready for those nightmares to go away.
Yeah.
All right, motion by Commissioner Dagley, second by Commissioner Tice. Any other questions, comments? Those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, ma'am. Go back to 4.1, public hearing, 10 a.m. regarding amending the county subdivision regulation manuals, 10:06 a.m. We will recess out of regular session, go into public hearing at this time. Natalie?
Yes, so as y'all know, we've been working on updating our manual here recently. We had we posted on our social media platforms a notification notifying the public that we were going to be updating our manuals, and if there was anything that they identified that needed to be changed, to go ahead and email it to our department. We have the proposed manual posted on our website. It's been there for a good amount of time now, and at this time, it's our recommendation to approve it, but I believe there's a couple of folks that would like to speak on the item, so I'm gonna just step by so they can go ahead and do that.
Thank you. All right, AC Low. AC, you have 3 minutes to make your comments.
All right, I just have a couple of items here. Unfortunately, I didn't write down the section, but I have the page number of the PDF. Under successors and assigns bound, it says, I'm just going to read the last part. It says that anybody that buys a property is bound by this document. And then it says whether or not any reference to this declaration is contained in the instrument by which the property was conveyed to such person. That's terribly unfair to people who buy property. I mean, because the way the county's set up on the drainage right now, and the way this says that the HOAs or POAs are responsible for these drainage ditches, that could result in a several $1,000s assessment to take care of those drainage ditches because they're deep and they're big and they sediment, they weed. It's a big expense to do. And to sell people property and tell them they're responsible without notifying is unfair, it seems to me. That's looking out for the county and not the citizens. And also that exact same verbiage, it starts on page 82 and is on page 80 and continues on 83. It's all exactly the same, a disclaimer for the county. The other comments I have is, as I was reading through this thing, at one place there's I'll tell you, on page 31, there's a reference to the easements being 15 foot wide, and somewhere else in the document it says 20 foot wide. That ought to be cleaned up so it's clear. I didn't copy that page because I'd already passed it and I wasn't interested in it. And I guess my other comment is, and maybe this will tie into the gentleman that we're talking about, the floodplain stuff, is, I think there ought to be, for future subdivisions, the street elevation should be 100-year floodplain at least. And then the slabs a foot above that. That'll protect people from flooding, or it'll go a long way toward it. I mean, we all know 100-year floodplain is a 1% chance, but it happens way more than 1%. But that also might help everybody in the county with their flood insurance rates that those gentlemen were talking about. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, Jerry Gaynor. Jerry.
Hi, my name is Jerry Gaynor. I'm the president of Hutchison and Associates, engineering firm in Baytown. And I have a list of about 18, 19 items that I want to pass out. Things for the consideration. Pass those out. This is just us reading through the proposed manual and giving a few items. Just read through these. Fire hydrant color. Trinity Bay requires all fire hydrants to be red. So that's something to work out with the fire hydrant. I mean, the overall question would be, how much control does the county have over how much water a fire hydrant puts out? I mean, there's, you know, it's the rural water system is fairly limited. Trinity Bay has some decent water towers, but overall there would have to be a study of their system to prove how much water you could get if you're going to specify a fire hydrant of a certain flow. And so it's just a consideration. The illumination spacing, this is a maximum spacing of 200 feet. There's no differential between a rural type subdivision that's got large lots and a small lot subdivision. Just says you'll have luminaires every 200 feet maximum. And so usually the power company is the one that's providing a lighting plan. And so there may be some language that needs to change on that. Development in special flood hazard is prohibited. I mean, the statement's there, and then it goes on after that to tell you how you can do it. So, you know, is it prohibited, or is it prohibited with certain with conditions? You want a summation of the length of road, obviously, because you're going to charge by the linear foot of road on the platting fees, I think. So some of these things are not really a whole lot to the deal. Page 30, contour lines on the plat. Is that original contour lines? Is that final proposed contours? You know, once you put a contour on there and then you build a subdivision, those contours are no longer valid. And so there's a lot of things like that that seemingly go on a plat that are kind of meaningless. The adequate egress and ingress in accordance with the Chambers County Fire Code. Of course, we're still wanting to get our variance approved and get back to the diagonal distance requirement and get that resolved. And so I don't know where we are on that. Hopefully we're coming up with a number that's greater than the 100 lots that's currently in there. But that affects a lot of properties in this county. The properties are relatively narrow. The narrow part fronts on the county road. Take that diagonal distance and you'll never be able to get, you know, it affects turn lanes, it affects a lot. And the Texas the Texas government code does in fact say 1,000 lots requires 2 entrances. So Texas is definitely on board with 1,000. Okay, the preliminary plat shall provide the following items. And we believe that this means these items will be submitted with the plat and not on the plat. It seems like when we talked to a reviewer yesterday, that the reviewer is reading the language and taking it literally. Like for a geotech report, you know, be submitted with the plat. It wouldn't go on a plat. It would be submitted with it. And so we were finding some things that the reviewer's interpretation is literal, when some of these things your experience level would tell you otherwise, that you would do it differently. Page 44, the diagram of the streets is just on the wrong page. Page 57, the plat fee, I guess that's just a comment. We're going to be paying the review fee based on the linear feet of road. There again, that's kind of penalizing a rural subdivision that has a very long road and very few lots. And it makes up for the fees. Page 69, new roadways that do not connect to an existing road. I kind of want clarity on that. I'm not sure where that where that situation would come up, but I'm not sure, that you would prohibit it if it's, could you have a private subdivision? Doesn't say, so the owner shall dedicate a fee ownership in the land for road drainage and utility purposes at owner's option. And then, so we don't know what that means, owner's option. And then, can this be a reserve for future public use instead of a dedication? We get into this in Harris County. A lot of times in Harris County, flood control will say, you got to give, 50 more feet of right of way for this ditch. And it's like, well, you need to buy that, so it goes on there as a reserve, and it might be 50 years from now when they actually are going to use it, and then they need to purchase it, not just dedicate it. All pavements are 20-year design life. I mean, 20 years is not a reasonable design life for a pavement. I mean, if it's not out there for 50 years or 60, I'd be really surprised. You could have a pavement, Bear Road's been repaired more than once. Obviously, that thing's a booger bear, but that's a subgrade problem. And the problem's evidently really deep. Nobody ever foresaw what conditions there are with that one. But most of your pavements are going to be there 60 years with minimal maintenance. Concrete pavement, subdivision. I mean, they just don't fall apart. Mixed design shall be submitted to the county engineer prior to approval. I'll just say, there needs to be a time limit on when the county's going to approve that. Contractor's going to go pour, and he's set up his schedule, and in some cases the mixed design was submitted a week before, and there's no communication, and somebody needs to be able to say, yes, go ahead and pour if they don't approve it within a certain amount of time. If the mixed design is reasonable, I mean, it's concrete, it gets hard. I mean, it's got the right amount of cement. It's going to be tested in the field. Just not a lot. I mean, there's a lot to concrete, but there's a lot more things that can go wrong with concrete than what are actually in a mixed design. For example, ASR, alkali-silica reaction, the type of aggregate that's in there. I mean, there's a lot of things to consider in concrete mixed design. But, like, I don't know if y'all remember on 146 in Baytown, that thing was spalled out. And I was with TxDOT at the time, and we were at a construction engineers meeting in Austin. And they determined that was a hard rock river gravel mix.
Limestone.
Yeah, instead of limestone. And it had a flash set in the top inch of that concrete. And so they caused that thing to spall out on the top inch. And then they milled it off and mixed it and put it back down, and it pretty much stayed there. I was amazed. But I'm sorry, I digress. 500-year, the 100 and 500-year storm will be plotted, but it's like, where do we show that? Is that in the detention pond? Is that on the ground? We need clarity on that. The route of overland flow, the drainage way, the 100-year flow. So conveyance is sized. We need clarity on what we're sizing the storm sewer. I mean, typically storm sewers, 5-year, 10-year design, and you have a ponding level, and you have extreme event overflow, and you want that to convey and flow down the streets. But most of the floods we see are not what we get in like saying this is a 100-year storm event, and the intensity is 8 inches per hour, for instance. What we really have is and you can have it, you can have that, but you have it raining 2 inches per hour for 4 days, and that's your Harvey type event. And so that flood event, what you're actually trying to do is have a subdivision that drains and doesn't have a storm sewer system that is ridiculously large, but in the extreme event, it has a pathway to flow out of there when you overwhelm your system. We just need clarity on that side. 79 curb and gutters, inundated 5 years. There's just a lot of things on drainage. Curb inlets must have grates. We assume that means BB, we call them BB inlets, where they have a curb opening and they have, it's partially built under the pavement. But it doesn't say that, it just says curb inlets must have grates. So you could have a regular type C curb and you're gonna put a grate on top of it? We don't know. So just clarity there. The access berm around a pond, it'll have a 6-foot paved walking path surrounding the pond. You have to pave that with concrete. Crushed granite, for instance, would be a good path for jogging on. You know, what's the intent there? So just clarify that. And then if it's a private pond, do you still have to do that if there's no public access to it? Then is the 6 foot inside of the 20 foot? You know, so do you have 26 foot or do you have 20 and you have 6 of it? So just clarifying a few things like that. And I apologize, we probably should have gotten this back to the engineering to have them consider these things first, but we didn't make that schedule. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jerry.
Natalie? I don't have any other citizen comments.
Cecil?
Cecil, you got one? Pass it up. Please. All right, Cecil Parker.
Hello, Judge, Commissioners. I got roped into this thing in the last few days. I didn't know all of this was coming up. Now, y'all know I'm retired, but I do have people looking at my lands and they're calculating what it's going to take with all these resolutions and changes. And a lot of them, I think, is just pure horse hockey. It's well intentioned, but a lot of it's not well thought out. Now, as you know, I spent a lot of time on city council, 3 terms in Mont Belvieu, and I wrote a lot of the regulations for the subdivision rules there in Mont Belvieu. And a lot of what this fellow back here was talking about, we put in the regulations that you had to be a foot over the road in case you had sheep flooding, that the houses wouldn't be underwater without the sheep flow first. Of course, now you've got roads that are designed to be below that are used as detention. And so it was like a 1 foot over the road or the general terrain, whichever's the highest type thing. Now, some of the other things that we did, it was all for the betterment of the community. We split the houses apart from each other so a fire wouldn't blow from one house to another. It created a little bit larger lots, which is what everybody wanted, but a lot of the other councilmen, and I explained to them, be careful what you want, because they wanted to go further to like 120-foot lots. I said, the one thing you've got to remember is when you're done with these regulations, you want your kids to be able to afford the house that's going to be put on that lot. And so the more land that is used, the higher the cost is, ultimately. And so, those are, you want a balance. And what I'm seeing is what I'm being told, and which I'm ignorant to right now, is some of the changes that are being made. Because you do have, and I saw Jerry talk about, you've got a lot of land around here that, for one reason or another, is not qualified to do anything on if you support these rules and regulations. You're taking them down. Now, one of the things they told me was you want 2 entries and they got to be 1,200 foot apart. There's a whole lot of land here that doesn't have 1,200 foot. And so, and so you want an alternate exit, just like the plantation. But then for some people, they're telling me that's not good enough. And I would say that the plantation's got 600 homes. And I don't think anybody's died from being delayed when there's a fire or an accident and life flight comes in. I hear that you want to go over 6 inches on your concrete. Well, if you're doing your concrete right, as far as I know, you don't need any more than 6 inches. Got to lime stabilize the ground, right? But show me a road that's failed in the last 20 years from the new regulations. I mean, we just keep wanting to put in more and more regulations, and I'm not a developer anymore, but I am a landowner. I think most landowners, if they understood what some of these ramifications are of these rules, is going to affect the prices. Well, you're basically condemning land, alternatively, when you're affecting the price. You can take, and I'm not accusing, but I am accusing in a way. You've got paid engineers giving you advice. They make money off that advice. And so they want as much chaos as possible. Because chaos makes them money. So take that into consideration. I'm not against anybody, but now I want a little bit of truth put in here, and then, like the Wizard of Oz, pull that curtain back. Because most landowners, like I said, if they knew what was in a lot of this stuff, if it's true what I'm being told, y'all need to start a committee of developers, maybe a couple of big landowners somewhere. I don't want to be part of it. But the thing is you can get some of that and get with the county people and come up with something, and where there's a disagreement between engineers and developers around here, well, then it can come to y'all's plate and y'all make a decision. Don't just, there's so much to say, and I know I've heard that beat going off, but it really needs to be relooked at again. And so now, I didn't want to get involved in any of this, but from what I'm hearing, there's some things that seem to be a little bit nutty, and it just keeps confusion in. And any of these regulations coming out of Harris County, like I said, there might be some good regulations, and I imagine there are. But Chambers County is not Harris County. I mean, we've got, for instance, my land on I-10. If I flood, and I didn't, Hurricane Harvey didn't flood me, but FEMA says I'm in a flood zone, which is nuts. I mean, right there at the bayou, and most of the year it's dry, because that's kind of the head of the bayou. But if I flood there on I-10, the water is going to be at the floor here in Anahuac. And I'm only 3 miles from sea level. So, White's Bayou, so you're getting into flood issues, and FEMA has never stepped foot on my land, and those regulations were thrown before they even had LIDAR, So it's, what it is the rules and regulations are there for them to come back and say, we can fix that. And I think Jerry admitted to that a while ago. We can fix that. We can regulate that. Well, it just means more money. When I was on city council in Mont Bellevue, Hackberry, we bought the Hackberry property for the park. Okay? And then before we started working on it, I got off of council. But the thing is the problem we were having with the engineers there was the land was an old rice field, and when the guy died or he retired or just whatever, he never knocked the levees down. So they said, there's wetlands in there. I said, no, there's no wetlands. You just knock the levees down. Natural ground. You can't do that. And so anyway, they worked around the problem, and the problem was, and I actually did the job till I won the bid. I was off council, I won the bid. But we had to grind the trees with an excavator that had rubber tracks instead of metal tracks. There ain't no difference on the ground. So a lot of this is BS. And I just want y'all to use a common sense approach, because everybody wants to put their name on, we did this, we fixed that, and we did that, but they don't know what the ramification is. It's cause and effect that you learned in 3rd and 4th grade. And so
Thank you, sir.
y'all got my opinion. So. But I think you need to relook at it and don't approve anything. That's what I'm saying here today.
Natalie.
Okay, y'all ready for me?
Yep.
So just some background. Whenever I started doing the revisions to the subdivision manual.
Hang on, is there any other public comments? Okay, we're gonna adjourn the public hearing at 10:30, go back in the regular session. 4.2, discuss, consider approving updated Chambers County subdivision criteria map.
Okay, so when I started doing the updates to the subdivision manual, I started looking at other counties that were mimicking some of the issues that we were currently experiencing. The big one being growth. We were rapidly growing at a pace that we were starting to see a lot of issues that could have better been addressed within the manual. So I started exploring the manuals that those different counties had. I'm sure a lot of y'all hear this a lot, but we're the 10th fastest growing county in the U.S. currently. So one of the manuals that I mimicked was Rockwall County. I'll just kind of comment on some of the items that were brought up during the public hearing. Some of the items that are listed here are items that were previously approved in the manual. The biggest changes that were done to our subdivision manual today that's being recommended for approval was incorporating a section for the traffic impact analysis that outlines what the requirements are for whenever a traffic impact analysis is submitted. We did update the declarations of maintenance declaration, just so there's a clear understanding on whom over the maintenance of these drainage reservations and easements and things of that nature, due to some of the issues that we're currently experiencing on the west side. Other elements that were updated was in regards to the linear feet of roadway, and that was done because each section of a subdivision isn't built at the same time. So you'll have section 1 that maybe stops in the middle of a roadway, so only that section of section 1 will be accepted whenever it meets the 2 year sorry, I'm like talking way too fast, need to slow down. Whenever we accept the subdivisions as county roadways, they have to go through a 2-year time frame and 50% build out. So a lot of times you'll have sections in the subdivision that are accepted as county roadways at different time periods. So we need to track what linear footage of that segment is ready to be accepted and what segment isn't. That was another thing I wanted to touch on. The other thing I wanted to touch on too is, again, just referencing the FIF study that's still ongoing. We know drainage is important in our area, and we've been very focused on that. Right now, we're just recommending that the subdivision manual be approved today. The drainage manual itself, it's still undergoing revisions. We've been working with our drainage consultants who do our reviews, as well as the engineering team that's working on the FIF study. One thing I do want to mention is, we reference these FEMA firm maps a lot, and in order to start the process to actually update them to reflect what true Atlas 14 standards are today, we have to go through the process that Matt was kind of elaborating on, and I'll let him speak on that a little bit more, but we're not done. My recommendation to the court today would be to go ahead and approve the manual as presented, given the fact that it has been advertised in our social media platforms that we are going through a revision period, and they are open to submit any concerns, questions, or comments in regards to what's being proposed. It has been posted on our county website under the engineering department for others to download, review, and comment. And I mean, our emails have always been open for suggestions and recommendations.
Question?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoke with several developers. I'm not in favor of the diet.
Oh.
Not at all.
I didn't touch on that. Yes.
And the number of houses per entrance needs to go up. We need a minimum, I don't know what it is, 500. 100 is just ridiculous. The state of Texas says 1,000. Ryan and I sat in on the meeting when we went to school, and we clearly, it's 1,000 for 2 entrances. 100 is putting just too much. This land right here, and some lots cannot be developed if we require 2 entrances on the house. So I mean, those 2 deals are a sticking point for me right now on approving this. Those need to change.
Mm-hmm. I know Ryan's here. Do you want to speak on that element?
Yeah, there is a proposal in the manual, in this one, concerning the diagonal, and it was also recognized that it's hard to meet that diagonal due to some shapes of some properties, and so it was stated they would be located as far apart as practical, or to that effect. That was the intended change on that. Now, as far as the number of homes, yes, though the government code 232 does reference 1,000, and then of course it states the commissioner's court can go more stringent than that. So what I did was emailed out countywide email to various counties around the state, and now quite honestly, I only got 8 responses. I was actually surprised that I got that many. So I asked them simply, do you have this requirement? What's your number? What's your trigger number? So 7 of the counties said 30, which is referenced in IFC. I think everybody would agree that's pretty strict and it'd be very hard to do in a rural area. One county said 150. That they thought that was more reasonable. So that's just summarizes the responses I got. But it's up to the court to decide what to do on that. I mean, it's kind of like an insurance policy. If something does occur and you have to get out, the last time I'm aware of that it was a major issue was when they switched to the one-way on the frontage roads in front of Lanai. That was when we got the most phone calls over something like that, and it was nobody could get in or out. When they switched it to one way and they were under construction where the bridge, and I know that's a different scenario than
That's kind of like saying, we have major wrecks on Interstate 10, traffic
Sure.
backed up for hours.
Exactly.
That's kind of like saying that one interest coming out of subdivision, and if you have a wreck,
Right.
you're gonna be backed up. It's kind of like saying, hey, we need to widen Interstate 10 lane to accommodate that. You see what I'm saying? That's my theory on that.
Other questions? Comments?
I know we've been working on this diagonal for a long time. In fact, Commissioner Combs, I think when this diagonal was put in place, Commissioner Combs was in this seat. He's even came and said, I think there was a typo, and we've all experienced the fact that one place it said 1,000, one place said 100. So I know we've been trying to clean this language up. I agree with Commissioner Gore. We were at Commissioner School recently. We were in there with a bunch of commissioners from all over the state, and we did the same thing you did, Ryan. We got verbal feedback from them, and we found out that in that room we were the most stringent at 100, which was, and we were in a pretty rural court. I figure it was the North Texas Judge and Commissioner, so it was more of a rural county setup.
North and east.
North and east, yeah. Commissioner School. So we had a lot of north and east counties, and we were one of the most stringent in that county. I think it depends on where you're getting the feedback from, and so I think at that time, Commissioner Gore and I looked at each other and we kind of talked about it where at the school and just said, we really need to address this. So my question is I don't think we're addressing this part enough. I think we need to reevaluate that internally. The second thing is the elevation of the streets. The require homes to be built at a certain minimum elevation over a street. I think if the manual doesn't say that, I think we absolutely need to incorporate that. I think that's important. I know on an HOA board that I sat on for 8 years in Chambers County, we didn't have that in the county regulations, but in Greenbrier Estates, when I first moved to the county, we had a minimum of a foot over the street elevation. And there was only one house that almost flooded in that subdivision. It was the first house ever built below the street. It was the reason why the developer went back and changed the architectural control guidelines for the subdivision, and so the subdivision managed it, not the county. I don't want to leave first-time home buyers that are inexperienced of some of us experienced home buyers in a predicament where they're buying a house in a former rice field below a street that's going to flood, right? In order to protect them. Because not everybody has life experiences like a lot of us do, and there's a lot of people moving into this county. So I think if we put some sort of regulation in there where there's a minimum above the street, I think that's important. So I don't know if that was addressed, Nally, or not.
Yes, that was one of the public that we got
Okay.
last time that we brought them back.
Yep.
So go to, I don't know if y'all have it open, 49.
Okay.
It kind of starts outlining some of the bulletins, but all finished floor elevation shall be at least above the design water surface stream elevation shall be at least above the highest point along the center line of the road immediately adjacent to the building.
Can you translate that for me?
Yeah.
Because what I'm saying is, if I'm a home buyer, I mean, I don't even know that, and I'm pretty experienced in this stuff, and I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, so you essentially have to be, your finished floor elevation of your slab needs to be above the highest point along the center line.
So we're saying 2 feet above the street, but we're not putting a minimum height of the street. So if they built the street 2 feet under, in a hole, like is the street elevation have a minimum height of the street elevation too? Like AC had a comment about the street elevation has to be at the 100-year floodplain minimum, right? Do we have does the streets have to be built at a certain elevation?
We don't dictate what elevation
The
the
street.
street is at, we
Okay.
dictate how much is on the street, so we can further clarify. We can do that in the drainage manual, or we can approve certain items contingent to ABC further clarified.
If you got your house 2 foot above a certain level, you are dictating what that street is at.
Yeah.
Street levels.
But the street level is not at the 100-year floodplain.
Well, it just depends, so I'm thinking about it like the water surface of a pond. I mean, built into a certain rainstorm event, so then you start talking about the 100-year, 500. Matt, you wanna touch on that a little bit further?
On the streets need to be a certain elevation.
Yeah, we don't have that in the manual to specify exactly.
Yeah, it's a little tricky because it depends if it's going to be a curb and gutter street or it's a roadside ditch street. The elevation of that road is going to be potentially quite different.
Speaking.
Yeah, sure. It depends a little bit if it's going to be a curb and gutter street or a roadside ditch street. Those roadside ditch streets tend to be higher just to allow the ditch to be built next to it. If it's curb and gutter, obviously it's going to likely be depressed against natural grade a little bit.
Yeah.
And so typically you're gonna see when the development comes through, it's looking at the holistic picture, and so you wanted to understand that you're containing the 100-year flows within the street right of way, one way or the other. It kind of becomes not a question of elevation or just what the design looks like. Are we containing that 100-year flood within the street right of way, either in the ditches or in the street itself if it's curb and gutter?
And that's the biggest misnomer I have in the west side, and I think as we go out there is people don't realize in the cities, and I mean Harris County, Chambers County, doesn't matter where you're at, in Southeast Texas, subdivision roads are meant to be emergency detention ponds. That's just how they're designed, and people get so frustrated with the fact that I can't get in and out of my house. Well, when you're in a major flood event, that road is supposed to hold that water because it's a whole lot better than being in your living room.
Yeah,
right?
You're either building a pond in the road or you're building a dam with the road.
Yeah,
One of the two.
and that's the concern, and that's what I wanted to make sure I understood. Because if you build the road too high, then we're going to create a lot of problems up and downstream, right?
Right.
So
Right, so it's and really it's kind of a case by case basis. The analysis of the full system needs to be understood to function correctly.
So if in the regulation we change it to 2 feet above the high center line of the street, is that going to be enough coverage where those houses are going to be well above the 100-year floodplain? 2 feet above the 100-year floodplain, I hear you saying.
It depends on how the drainage manual is updated. So it'll work together with the drainage manual to, depending on what the requirement is of where to keep the 100-year. If the requirement is to keep it in the right of way, then yes, the houses would be high enough above the center line. You can also have other items in the drainage manual that would state things. You look at the elevation of the detention pond, you have to be a foot above the 500-year in that pond, or 2 feet above natural grade, whichever is higher. I see that often where it's kind of an either or, and you choose the higher of the two. So that might be one way to advise the drainage manual is to put in a or above natural grade.
But should the drainage manual and the subdivision manual align?
They should agree, but they can complement each other.
So, okay. And when are we updating this drainage manual? Whenever the FIF study is done?
No, so we have a few. Have to post it outside. So we.
So I guess my proposal, my question would be, would it be wise for us to have both of these on the same court?
What I was thinking.
To literally make sure they for sure align, and gives us time to address some of these other issues, because I do want to address that diagonal. I do want to address the lot situation. I think we're too aggressive with our lot requirement. And also, I want to make really positive when we finish the drainage manual suggestions and circulations that these absolutely align perfectly, right? And I don't want to have to come back and keep updating. I think we're not in a big hurry today to update this. So, I mean, I would, that would be my recommendation. We table and we put them on together.
Motion by Mr. Dagley, second by Mr. Gore, to table.
Yeah, I want to go back to something. All these questions here, that's a general. I feel that you need to sit down with that gentleman and we need to get these clarified so it's better. Because like he said, I mean, we're doing this here, we have to take into consideration of developers and stuff like that. So I mean, if he has this many questions and they look at this stuff every day, someone that's coming in, just like Ryan looks at this stuff all the time. He has questions about stuff. People like me that are not real familiar with this here, it needs to be in layman's terms or everybody needs to be on the same page. I think we need to sit down with this gentleman and go through these here and see if we can get clarification in those rules, if you don't mind.
And Natalie, to piggyback what Commissioner Gore said a few moments ago, in visiting with some other counties at Judges and Commissioners School Northeast area, it seemed like the number of 500 kept popping all the time. It wasn't 100, it wasn't 1,000. Just seems like I heard 500 sometimes. So let that marinate a little bit for what it's worth and check with counties and postal. It just seems like that number popped up so.
Yeah, and just to touch on that one, we did address the diagonal by tying it back to a traffic impact analysis. The only element that we didn't address was the amount of homes that would trigger that requirement.
Yeah.
And I know Ryan kind of ran with that one, but I'll visit with him and we'll discuss the 500 to see if that's something that I need to know with.
We're painfully close, but AC and Cecil did get some good points, and no points that we weren't surprised with at all. But that's why we're here. Let's get it right. We're real close.
Once you sit down with the gentleman and go through all this here, I think the same thing needs to be done when we look at our drain. We need to sit down with the developer from the outside, looking in on what the county's doing and maybe get some feedback before we come to court. So we don't show up with a whole list of stuff on the day we're gonna vote on it and stuff like that. So if you don't mind, once you complete this here, complete the drainage manual, sit down with the gentleman there and let him look at it and all kind of concur with each other.
Well, and I understand Jerry showed up at that court, but this has been out there a long time.
Yeah,
It's been
I
on
mean,
several
I
commissioners'
can
courts,
give
it's
you
been on the
some
website, it's been,
Yeah.
and so,
Yeah.
you know, there has been opportunity. I understand
We're
very
close.
busy, everybody's busy,
Yeah, everybody's doing
things
it,
happen.
but if we can just go ahead and schedule a future appointment, future once, say, hey, we're ready to move forward. Before we put it on court, we're ready to move forward. Just look at it and say, hey, maybe there's something that somebody overlooked or something, a miswording. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I just want to make a comment that, you know, the manual isn't always going to hold all the answers. Sometimes it's left for interpretation based on where the development developed and things like that. I mean, some areas don't include floodplains. I mean, it just, everything won't always be within the manual and will require some of those sit-down discussions during the review process.
I appreciate the effort that y'all put into it.
Absolutely, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm just gonna take advantage of the fact that I'm still up here. Just so everybody knows, there is a thoroughfare meeting this afternoon at White's Park between 5 to 7. If y'all want to put together a list for me to look at. A thoroughfare meeting. A thoroughfare meeting. Basically, it's just outlining where the county's needs are for roadways and things like that to go ahead and plan for the future and be able to acquire funding through HGC and things of that nature.
Okay, I got a motion and a second to table 4.2. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. We're gonna take 10 at 10:49. Alright, court coming to order, 11:07 after recess. We cleared the courtroom. 5.1, discuss and consider approving amendment for the contract between Chambers County and Jeffrey S. Ward and Associates for LHMPP Local Hazard Mitigation Plan Program Grant. Good
Yes,
morning,
sir.
Robbie.
Good morning. So when we submitted our original application, there was not a clause in there for termination for cause inconvenience. And the GLO is asking that we add this amendment to our contract to be in compliance with all of their, list, with their complete list.
So moved.
Second.
By Commissioner Jagley, second by Commissioner Gore, questions? Opposed, motion carries 5-2, discuss and consider approving client agreement between Chambers County and RW Environmental LLC to provide the necessary environmental permitting required by Texas Parks and Wildlife to move forward with the grant requirements over the vote.
So this company is owned by Bob Nalen, who has a history working with Chambers County on our boat ramps. So we are asking that we move forward with this client agreement so that we can begin setting up our meetings with the Corps of Engineers and begin our permitting process to move forward with the boat ramp.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Hammond, second by Commissioner Tice. Any questions? Those in favor? Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. 5.3.
Thank you, Robbie.
Yes, sir.
Good work.
5.3 is not, we already acted on it. 5.4 is done. 6.1. Don, you need to get the
We're gonna pull that.
full 6.1. 6.2, discuss, consider approving temporary parking agreement with Welcome Home Dalton Parade on October 23rd, 2024, for Anahuac Park.
So maybe
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gore, second by Bagley.
if you're available, please show. He's great for this young. Fighting the fight of his life.
Alright, those in favor? Opposed? 7.1, discuss, consider approving Construction Administration, Inc. guaranteed maximum price for new road and bridge building in the amount of $1,468,165. Motion by Commissioner Tice,
Hey,
second by Commissioner Gore. Questions, comments?
One comment, this thing come in about 30% under
sometimes
significant cost savings.
our original quote
A
back.
little north of 600,000.
Yeah, close, right around $700,000 reduction in cost.
Good job. Alright, those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Discuss, consider approving associated cost amount of $171,15 for the Mark Huddleston Building renovations, preparations for East NS personnel, relocation operations.
Just to,
Dang,
just,
have a second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gore, second by Commissioner Tice.
yeah, we're gonna have to, based on some correspondence, I think this will have to go emergency and we're gonna need some funding for this.
yes, I mean, we're up against timeline goes, get out over there, so I mean, we have funding. PO or anything like that, we can go ahead and do this year.
However you figure it out.
Because we're moving, and we're gonna post it to the public, we're moving the week before Thanksgiving. We're gonna be shut down that whole week, East Annex, getting it moved. We're gonna move Lori's office and move to the judge's office, mine, we got all the sheriff's office, we got all the investigators, we got everybody to move into the Hudson building. And we're just on a timeline. Find some funding to go ahead and move forward with it.
Alright, got a motion second, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 7.3, discuss, consider requesting seal proposal for Bradley House renovations.
Yeah, we are currently working on scopes of work for the proposals. I'm thinking maybe inside 2 weeks we'll have those ready.
Or move.
A second. Motion by Commissioner Gore, second by Commissioner Tice. Discussion. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 9.1, discuss consider approval of change of occupancy from residential to commercial use.
No, I did not.
Justin's Barber Shop, 15,524 Old Irish Farm Road.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
We received, information that there was a residential area that had a barber shop, and we had the fire marshal investigate. They were asked to do a change of occupancy. Fire marshal approved the fire. The next step is commissioner court approval, before they can give the, certificate of completion.
So, are you recommending?
There are some issues that I've been made aware of, such as access. We don't enforce deed restrictions, but there's a deed restriction that says there can be commercial in there.
Yeah, in the back.
I'm not gonna support this. Talked to the homeowner association yesterday. I think there's some legal action coming with that. I don't think county road needs to get involved in this situation here. So need to let them work that out where I'm at. I'm not gonna make a motion for this.
You wanna make a motion to deny it? Go ahead. Oh, you said.
I'm asking.
Well, it table it tonight.
Yeah, I don't know the right action to take, honestly. So I would say pull it.
All right, motion by Commissioner Hammond, full, second by Commissioner Ty. Now you say that? Anything else on it? Those in favor? Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, darling.
Thank you, darling.
Thank you, darling.
Sorry to make you wait so long.
No problem.
All right, missing one, consent.
I'll get this.
2, 3.
Yes, 1918.
Oh, yeah, we just-
Yeah. I just want to reword that to propose new structures for Chambers County. So we have about 3 new buildings we're fixing to construct. And I don't want to go through this step, each individual building. I think that just needs to say propose new structures for Chambers County.
So is that your motion on that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Motion by Mr. Hammond, second by Commissioner Gore. Questions? Those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. What about the rest of them?
Everything else good?
Oh,
I'm good, Judge.
So moved.
looks like Commissioner Gore, second by Commissioner Tice. Those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. I think we do have one item for executive session. In personnel, 20.1, and then possibly 20.2. No FMLA, Lauren. 11:16 a.m. We will recess to executive session. It couldn't. All right, before come to order, executive session, 11:58 a.m. No action out of executive session. With that, adjourned.